What is up, FEG fam? Welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, I wanted to do a bit of a showcase, or you can say in-depth guide on both the Raiden Shogun and Shenhe. Now the reason being is because the Raiden Shogun is my most favorite character in the game and arguably the one that I invested the most resources into, not to mention her French braid is arguably the greatest one in the game. But we then had Shenhe drop and she went and tried to rival the French braids. And if you know about me, you've been on my channel, it is all about the French braids and ponytails. But on a more serious note, these two characters are some of the funnest characters to use in the game, and I think they actually pair really well. Now, whenever there's a brand new character that drops in the game that I am excited about, I always want to try to pair that said character with the Raiden Shogun to see how well they synergize, because the Raiden Shogun is such a great universal support in terms of being a battery. She can synergize with most everybody, and that is no different with her and Shenhe. So I wanted to go over the reasons why they work well together and why maybe some people might have dismissed this combination or duo, as well as provide some more information on the other characters that we have within this team comp as well. If you do enjoy today's video, go ahead and drop a like. It helps out more nowadays than you guys even know, and it's greatly appreciated. The support you've been showing on this channel has been immense, and I thank you guys. Also, if you do enjoy the video, you like what you see, go ahead and consider subscribing. Join the FEG family, as we have been grinding on this channel and we will continue to grind for all of 2022 and beyond. So thank you so much for all your support. Now, with that being said, let's get into the nitty-gritty on what we have with these two characters. Now, before we do though, I want to go over the details and what I have on these two characters in particular, so that way you know what I'm working with when you see the gameplay and everything that's going on. So for the Raiden Shogun, obviously level 90, I do have the R1 engulfing lightning, I do have the 4-piece emblem of severed face set, and I am rocking an energy recharge sands, an attack goblet, and a crit damage circlet. And here are the stats as well. We have the crit rate 40%, 160% crit damage, and you have the energy recharge. All the good stuff right there for you. Now, if we move over to the constellations, I do have the Raiden Shogun C6. Take that into account when you're looking at the showcase. Now, one thing I did want to quickly mention is on the Raiden Shogun, the C4 is something of note, because when the elemental burst expires, all nearby party members, excluding the Shogun, gain 30% bonus attack for 10 seconds. That is fantastic, especially for Shenhe. Now, I understand most people won't have this, but I did want to note that because maybe you weren't aware that the C4 did that. So if we move over to the talents, there are a few things that I do want to highlight that makes this combination really good. And one of the things that I did want to highlight was the elemental skills. I touched on this on a previous video, but the elemental skill is really good, especially for Shenhe. So the reason being is because the characters who gain the Eye of Stormy Judgment will have their elemental burst damage increase based on the energy cost of the elemental burst during the Eye's duration. Now, the reason why that's so significant is because with Shenhe's elemental burst, I know a lot of people speak about it and kind of don't like it, but for me in particular, I like it because the 80 energy cost works really well with the Raiden Shogun, and so that's one thing that I did want to point out that I really do like, and I know a lot of people don't. So wanted to point that out. The other thing is the coordinated attacks. Whenever Shenhe's elemental burst is going off and it's there for that duration over time damage, you also see the coordinated attacks working in conjunction with the elemental burst. Not only do I think it looks really cool, but that's an added little extra benefit of damage that you're receiving within Shenhe's elemental burst, and I do really like it. Very similar to like Ganyu's elemental burst, so that's really nice. Now, if we move over to the elemental burst of the Raiden Shogun, what's really good about this is that the resolve stacks are going to play a role here with the Shogun and Shenhe matched together. So that goes back to Shenhe's 80 energy costs and how I personally like that, because the chakra that we have here, when nearby party members, excluding the Shogun, once again use their elemental burst, the Raiden Shogun will build up resolve stacks based on the energy cost of these elemental bursts. So having Shenhe's elemental burst be 80 is, for me, not a bad thing when paired with the Raiden Shogun. So I like that in particular. That's just another way that they synergize really well. Now, the only thing that is really beneficial here in terms of helping out the Raiden Shogun, because the Raiden Shogun obviously can't take advantage of the icy quills. So what we're really looking at is one, the passive right here. So this passive, Spirit Communion Seal, what we're always going to be looking for when paired with the Raiden Shogun is to do the press. And the reason being is because when we do the press, the elemental skill and elemental burst damage increase by 15% for 10 seconds. That is tremendous for the Raiden Shogun, because we all know that is the bread and butter where you're getting the most damage out of the Shogun. So when you do the Shogun's elemental burst, if you do everything correctly, it's going to be hitting like a truck. It already does, but this is going to help it out even more. And then of course, when it comes to the build of Shenhe, we just have the attack as high as possible. As you can see, a little over 3,000 right there. And then you can see the stats right here. And you can see I have the energy recharge pretty high. And when you pair the Raiden Shogun with Shenhe, or for any character of that matter, you're going to be getting energy back consistently. It's something that's going to be a non-issue. And in this case, it is really a non-issue, especially with Shenhe's energy recharge at 138%. She gets her elemental burst back relatively quickly, and we're able to pop that pretty often, which is nice. So I don't have any issues with that with my Raiden Shogun pairing. I do have the Calamity Queller at R1, and I do have the 2-piece Shimenawa and the 2-piece Gladiator, and I did go triple attack percent on that. C0 and 8, 8, and 8 that you saw earlier. Now, the other characters that we are pairing with these two are Kazuha, obviously for the swirl to increase those reactions, and the elemental mastery, just a fantastic character. You all know about Kazuha there. And then of course we have Xingqiu. Now, originally I was using Zhongli for the shield, but I opted to use Xingqiu in this instance because of the swords that come down. I think when you start pairing all of these things that are happening, so you have the Shogun's coordinated attacks, you have Shenhe's elemental burst, you have Kazuha's swirl, and then you throw in the swords, there's just so much going on at the same time, and the damage is just insane. These enemies do not last, and even the best of enemies, they just get absolutely shredded. And it's a very fun team comp that we have here. Basically, do the Raiden Shogun's elemental skill. You can then switch into Shenhe and do Shenhe's press. You can then switch into Xingqiu, do his elemental skills, and then pop the elemental burst if you do have it available. Switch into Kazuha to swirl everything together. Go back into Raiden Shogun, do the elemental skill once again, and if you have the burst, which you usually do, you can pop the burst, and now you're just doing tremendous amount of damage. Now, if you have Shenhe's elemental burst ready to go, you can do that first, and then switch into Shogun and do the Shogun's elemental burst. But it's just absolutely incredible. And I do have the sacrificial sword on Xingqiu, so we are able to proc the elemental skill twice for the most part. But this is a duo that I'm not too sure was on a lot of people's radar, and understandably so. When you take a look at Shenhe, you're really only seeing her pairing with other cryo characters because of that cryo support is so great, and it really benefits those other cryo characters. But because of that passive of the Spirit Communion Seal, depending on what you do, whether it be the press or the hold, you can actually pair Shenhe with a lot of other characters. You know, obviously the cryo is going to be the best, but you can see in this instance, paired with the Raiden Shogun, and how they really play off of each other, the Raiden Shogun giving the coordinated attacks and being able to give the energy to Shenhe and allowing Shenhe's elemental burst to do more damage. And then you have Shenhe being able to allow the Raiden Shogun's elemental burst to be able to do more damage with that passive right there, and then being able to proc the superconduct pretty consistently. It's a very fun pairing, to say the least. And that, at the end of the day, that's the takeaway from this, that the pairing of these characters are just fun, right? It may not be meta, but it's just fun, and it's a good time, and it actually does good damage. Now, once again, like I mentioned, you have Xingqiu in there with the swords falling down, and you have Kazuha swirling it all together, so they definitely complete the pieces to the pie. But it's really the Raiden Shogun and Shenhe with their amazing French braids that are really is what drives this team. So anyways, guys, this is basically it in terms of Shenhe and the Raiden Shogun. If you have any further questions about them, let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you tried this team, or tried this pair or duo, let me know how you feel about them down in the comments below as well. And I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I will see you in the next one. Remember to stand out, be different, have fun, go further beyond in everything that you do. And until next time, my boys, until next time, it's your homie Cody, and I'm out. Bye, guys.